Hello and welcome to the Providence College Podcast. I'm your host, Liz Kay, and I'm joined by producer Chris Judge of the class of 2005. Here at the Providence College Podcast, we bring you interesting stories from the Fryer family. Today, we're talking about life for PC students with disabilities with Rakeb Max, the class of 2022, and Jennifer Rivera, PC's Assistant Director for Disability Support Services in the college's Office of Academic Services. Rakeb, who grew up outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota, is studying economics here at PC. She's the co-founder of the student group Believe, which advocates for PC students with disabilities. And as a person who is blind, always appreciates a good joke about blind people. Jennifer is an alum of PC's School of Continuing Education and its graduate program for school counseling. She helps students like Rakeb who have a disability get the resources they need so they can succeed in their classes. Rakeb and Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Well, Rakeb, let's start with you. Can you tell us about your vision?
Yeah, so I don't see anything at all. I was born with congenital glaucoma, also known as pediatric glaucoma, which is where the drainage mechanism in your eye is deformed, and because of that, you have a buildup of pressure because you're not able to drain out that fluid, and that causes damage of the optic nerve, which is an essential part of seeing stuff.
Yes, that does seem very important and key. So were you born with absolutely no vision at all?
I was born with 50% of my vision, and then it gradually gradually got worse. And then by the time I was 4, I had no vision.
So do you have memories now of what it was like to see some things?
Yeah, so I have conceptualization of color, and I have some conceptualization of what things in the world look like, so I can conceptualize stairs. I understand at a visual level how stairs work. I know that seems very odd and abstract, but those who don't have any kind of memory of seeing things don't conceptualize things the way that someone with vision would. So the way I process the world is a little different from the average blind person because of my history.
So when people describe how something looks, you sometimes can have a sense. Like, do you remember colors?
I remember colors. So if you tell me that a dress is blue, I understand what that means. Whereas someone who doesn't have any kind of recollection of color would not understand what red was. They could understand things that they've learned to associate with red or yellow, like, sun is yellow, blue is the sky. But they don't have any kind of conceptualization of what it actually is.
So can you tell us a little bit about where you went to school and how you learned to read and do all the things that you're doing so well now?
Yeah, so I am from South Minneapolis, Minnesota. I went to a pre-K to 8th grade school, Seward Montessori. Shout out. None of them are listening to this. They don't know who I am. And then I went to South High School for high school. And I started learning Braille later than most, actually. I started learning Braille when I was 4. I've talked to some other completely blind people, and they've told me that they started learning at 2 or 3. So I had a bit of a late start because the district I lived in didn't want to give me services until I had way more significant vision loss. So I actually don't like Braille at all. You can ask Jen. I hate it.
True story.
I prefer listening to things, and I just find audio is so much more efficient. But I do also understand that Braille is necessary for mathematics and science and things like that. So, yeah.
Neat. And how did you choose Providence College?
So my decision to go to PC was actually super last minute. It had come down to PC and Xavier, and I actually committed to Xavier. I paid the $500 deposit. I took a tour. I spent a ridiculous amount of money on merchandise and Xavier gear. And then I found out that I got the Martin Luther King scholarship, the multicultural scholarship here at PC, very last minute. And then I was like, oh, I don't know if I can say no to that. So at the last possible minute, I told my mom, hey, so you know all that money we spent? Let's undo that and go somewhere else.
Non-refundable deposit notwithstanding.
I got back the deposit, but like we lost the $200 I spent on like a t-shirt, 2 sweaters, and a hat and a water bottle and a lanyard.
There's always eBay. There's always eBay. So how did you prepare for moving to the East Coast?
So I was very well prepared with independent living skills because my mom sent me to these programs for the blind and visually impaired, where they teach you how to, they teach you travel skills and mobility skills and cooking and cleaning, which sounds very mundane and like normal to most people, but like you have to be taught that as a blind person because you can't just sit there and watch, obviously. So there was that aspect of preparation, and academically I did what everyone else did and took AP classes and stuff like that.
Well, you've already been really busy at PC and you've been here barely a semester. How are your classes and what do you like to do here for fun?
My classes are fine. It's a struggle, but I'm pretty sure everyone can relate to that. What do I do for fun? The clubs that I've joined so far, I find them honestly to be fun, so I really enjoy doing the stuff I do for Believe. I watch a ridiculous amount of YouTube. It's not healthy. Jen can attest, I spent way too much time on my phone, just like anyone else would. So, yeah.
And what motivated you to want to found Believe?
So one of the main founders was Jackie Kelly, who is a junior here at PC, and she had approached me, Eliza Barmakian, and Laura Cheevers, who are other students who utilize the services at OAS as well. And she said that she was trying to start an advocacy organization on campus and that she'd never had enough disabled individuals to work with. And also, just so people know, Believe isn't just for disabled people. She just wanted a solid community of people with disabilities so that she could, have some people who got it, if that makes sense. So that's how that started. And then we've been working on the approval process, which took a really long time because we kept having to cancel our meetings with Congress. But we had our meeting with the entire Congress floor, and we were approved.
So. Fantastic. Congratulations to you and Jackie and the other students involved.
Thank you.
I bet you get a lot of questions from people about how you accomplish ordinary tasks. I mean, there are students who struggle to do normal things, who have all of their 5 senses functional. How do you, can you tell us about some of the ways you navigate campus? How do you get your civ reading done?
Okay, so the way I navigate campus, I use a long white cane, which is the big white stick you see me walking around with. Very hard to miss. The mechanics of that are a little complex, but I'm going to try to simplify it as much as possible. You keep it in front of you and you move it left to the right. Some people tap, some people swipe. I kind of do both depending upon the terrain I'm walking on and the environment I'm walking in. And that's supposed to prevent you from running into things. So it looks kind of odd to most people because visually it looks like you're running into stuff when your cane taps things, but that's just you tactily navigating, if that makes sense. I don't use a guide dog, but other blind people use a guide dog, which is has its drawbacks and its benefits as well. It all comes down to preference. I don't think one is better than the other. It just comes down to what you prefer as an individual.
Very neat. And so how many hours a week do you spend listening to all your readings? Is every reading available as an audiobook or?
So I use an app called Voice Dream, which has a very robotic voice that reads my audiobooks because not everything can have a human because that takes way longer to produce. So I use a service called Bookshare, which is where they take print books, they scan them into these documents. Crud, I don't remember what that format is. RTF, I think, is what it's called. They scan them into these condensed formats, and then you take You download that file that the book is, and you read it on VoiceStream, and it's this robotic voice that most people find extremely irritating, but I've grown very used to it. And how many hours does it take? It depends, because sometimes I'll pause my books to make sure I jot down everything I need. But if it's something that I don't really need to do that because I'm familiar enough with the topic, I could speed through 200 pages in an hour and a half to 2 hours, because I keep the robotic voice that I listen to at very high speeds. So
does it sound more like a hamster or a chipmunk than the actual robotic?
To most people, it doesn't even sound like English, but I understand every word of it. I'm actually slow compared to most blind people. My boyfriend can read 750 words a minute, and I can listen to about 300 to 400 words a minute, depending upon what I'm reading. If I'm reading something that's very dense, I usually slow it down to 300, but if it's more luxury reading, I can speed it up to 350, 400.
Jen, you and Rakeb work really closely together. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about the mission of Disability Services at PC?
Yeah, so our office is committed to providing students with disabilities equal access to programs, facilities, and activities. And a lot of what I do with Rakeb is any handouts or any readings that she can't find online, I scan those for her into the computer, and then I'll email them to her so that way she can listen to it.
And what kinds of services do you provide? Do you have to provide assistance to faculty as well who are working with students with disabilities?
Yep, sometimes faculty will reach out to our office for assistance. They're not sure how to work with the student. We'll try to guide them. We'll also tell the student the best thing they can do is go to see them during their office hours and have a one-on-one conversation about what kind of accommodations they need and how best to assist them during the class.
Now, the help that your office provides, it's probably different than a student with disability might have encountered in a K through 12 system, right?
Exactly, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so at the higher education level, students have to disclose their disability to us and provide documentation. The documentation has to be from the last 3 years. So we call it adult documentation, so we like it from 10th grade on. So we have the updated testing results. And then from there, we will figure out what type of reasonable accommodations a student needs here at our level. So what we'll usually do is have them go to all their classes, pick up their syllabi from their class, and bring those in so that we can use that as a guide, so that we can see what exactly is going on in each of their classes. Are they going to have exams? Is it going to be oral presentations? Is it going to be group work? So that way we can try to figure out what type of accommodations the students will need.
So how did you first get interested in working with students with disabilities?
Well, when I came here in 1998 as the administrative assistant, I didn't really know a whole lot about students with disabilities, and there wasn't a lot of students registered with our office at that time. I want to say there was between 100 and 150. So as it grew bigger and bigger, I learned a lot more. I connected more with the students because they'd come in and see me first to set up their appointments, and I just got to know them, and that's basically how I just got interested in it. It wasn't until 2010 when we had another blind student here. His name was Ian. Him and I got really close, and that's when I decided, I need to work a little more closely with these students.
I'm curious if there have been any experiences in your personal life that have helped you kind of empathize or understand better what the students with disabilities are going through here at PC.
Oh, absolutely. In 2016, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was out for 7 months receiving treatments, and it really teaches you a lot about yourself and what you can do. And when I got back, it just put a whole new light on students who had medical disabilities who were going out receiving treatment, and I had such a better connection with them, just being able to say I understand if they were going out for an infusion or needed a certain day of the week that they couldn't take classes. I understood why.
Congratulations on being a survivor.
Oh, thank you so much. And if anybody has the Gloria Gemma Foundation calendar for 2019, I am Miss May.
Shameless self-promo.
Yes. Well, it's a photo with some of the members of the PC softball team. So it was taken right here on campus.
Fantastic. We'll have to check that out.
Yes.
We reached out to PC's social media followers and asked them if they had any questions for Rakeb and Jennifer. Let's start with a few. Rakeb, what are the biggest challenges or obstacles in your daily life? And what would you say are the blessings of having a disability?
I'd definitely say social interaction is difficult because, especially at PC, people aren't used to seeing a visually impaired student mingling amongst them and being in class with them and, attempting to hang out with them and stuff like that. So I think achieving a certain status of normality is difficult and something that is just something you're constantly thinking about when you're my age, because it's a weird time. You're transitioning from being in a town where a lot of people know you to a completely new place, and you're just trying to find your place as a person. Now, blessings of being disabled, I can get away with a lot of things.
Will it blow your cover for you to share some
I'm not going to say details because, I have a reputation to keep. But I can get away with a lot of things because if you look at me, you're like, oh, she's not going to do that. Yes, I will.
So have you, just following up on that, how surprised have people been when they realized you were pulling something over on them?
Well, most of them haven't realized. Most people haven't realized that because I can't blow my cover, so that's all I can say. But I think something related to that is people are surprised when I putting myself in a conversation and I say something like, oh yeah, my boyfriend, or oh yeah, I went to this party, and they're like, what? Wait, what? So stuff like that. But, I can get away with things that I'm not supposed to do, but I do anyway. I'm not going to say those things.
So another follower asked if you have a different perspective on life due to your disability.
Oh, I say so, definitely, for sure. I think that when you have a disability that affects how you go about living your day-to-day life, you just learn how to figure things out. That's kind of my saying. It's like, oh, it sucks, but I'll figure it out. It's fine. Because you can't live your life with a disability and be miserable all the time. That's just not fun. And I think I grew to have a good sense of humor, and I joke about my blindness all the time. Mm-hmm. And I always just say it's tough, but I'll figure it out. I don't dwell on it. I don't think it's a sob story. A lot of people will hear me talk about how I don't recollect my family's faces, and how I remember color, but I don't remember what my mom looks like. I remember she always dyed her hair blonde, but I don't remember any specific details, or how I know that I have curly black hair and that I'm a dark-skinned girl, but I don't know any fine features of my face or anything like that. And people find that extremely sad. I don't find that sad at all. For one, you can't miss what you don't recollect. Two, I just don't dwell on it. I don't think about it. I had the advantage of losing my sight very young, so I didn't have to go through that difficult process as a teenager or as an adult. There's some people who lost their vision in the middle of high school. They go from being a normal teenager to having to deal with a disability and having to relearn how to live their life. I never had that, so I don't dwell on it. I don't think about it. It's just a bullet point. It's not my entire story.
It's not what defines you? Mm-hmm. Rakeb, do you ever feel excluded from society? Is it hard for asking for help?
I don't think it's hard asking for help. Do I feel excluded from society as a whole? No, I feel, the times I feel excluded is when I'm in, this is no shade towards anyone, but I'd say that I've felt that in certain social situations in high school and here at PC, if I'm being 100% honest. I feel like this school is just not accustomed to, it's rare to see a blind person in general, but to see a blind person who's, outliving their life and just trying to be like everyone else, I think that's an oddity to most people. And I understand that. I don't, it's definitely frustrating. I definitely have my moments. There's definitely been times where I walk into Jen's office just oh, I'm over it, but it is what it is. And I can deal with it. I'll figure it out.
Can I just add that everyone in my office thinks Rakeb is hysterical, and
yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely we could see a future of you with you in stand-up for sure.
Oh my God, no.
So, Rakeb, another question that was posed was, as professionals, how can we support you and other students with disabilities?
Professional as in like a professor, or?
I think they mean like staff or people, not socially, but.
Oh, okay. I'd say that I think the staff here have been great. I think that they're very like approachable to ask for help and ask for directions and stuff. I think actually we had this conversation as we were walking down here. Instead of grabbing them, I'm not shading you, Liz, calm down. Instead of grabbing, this isn't more specifically to a blind person, but instead of grabbing, just like ask, do you need help? If so, offer their arm and they'll take your arm, or they'll just tell you what they prefer, because at the end of the day, we are individuals and we have preferences. So I think that's one. I think if you're a professor, I think just to be understanding about accommodations, but I haven't really run into any issues with that, so.
That's a plus. That's good to hear. Rakeb, what assistive technology do you love?
I'd say my phone, because I can just do everything on my phone. It's so convenient. Like my textbooks are on there, and I check my email on there. I do a lot of my school on my phone. Obviously, I don't write papers or anything on my phone, but there's that. When I was in middle school, elementary school, and part of high school, I used what's called a Braille note, and it is sort of like a computer, except it has a display that displays Braille. So I always thought that was a cool gadget. I actually have one in my room, but it's its main purpose is to hook up to my computer. I haven't had to use it yet because I don't have any classes where it's necessary, but at some point I'm probably going to encounter a class where I'll need it. So I can just hook it up to my laptop and it'll display Braille on the little Braille display, and I can control my laptop with it. Cool stuff like that. Ira is a big one. Ira is a new company that I actually went to their debut when they debuted their product at the National Federation of the Blind Convention in 2015, I believe. It was either 14 or 15, I do not recall. And there have been a lot of apps similar to them, but I think they've really nailed it in that essentially what they do is that they have people sitting in an office and they're your eyes. So you download the app on your phone, you call, and it matches you with a random agent, and they'll help you with whatever you need help with. And they also have glasses that you can wear too, so you can use that for navigational purposes. You can use it for reading stuff. You can use it for taking pictures. I know my boyfriend has used it to take selfies for his Instagram.
That sort of leads me to a side note because when I first encountered your posts in the college's student group for the class of 2022, you immediately shared, like every other student who posted, about your Instagram and Snapchat. How do you use those apps? They're very visual.
Yeah, so I have first and foremost, I think it's important to note that I have screen reading software on my phone. Actually, all iPhones have it, and all Androids have it as well. It's just, you can turn it on in the accessibility tab in settings, just as a quick side note. So if you want to explore it, have fun. Just good luck turning it back off. Because I know I've made my mom extremely mad by doing that to her phone. But anyway, that's a whole other story. So I use that to navigate Instagram and Snapchat. Now, when it comes to the pictures, I can post my own photos. I can take decent selfies. Sometimes they're ugly, but hey, self-love, right? And the way that works is it's actually a new feature with VoiceOver. That's what the screen reading software is called. And it can, so if I had my phone in front of my face, it would tell me, so if it said small face, that means that my face is too far away and then I need to bring the camera closer. If it says big face, that means it's a big close-up. And it will tell you, oh, you're too far to the left, move it a little more this way, stuff like that. It's not perfect. It's not 100% accurate, but it works. There's also Ira, which I don't have. I plan on getting it eventually. I don't look at people's pictures for obvious reasons. So just in case anyone was wondering, I'm not following you because I'm looking at all the cool adventures of your life. I'm following you because I want another follow. With Snapchat's a little more tricky because the software is built really weird, and there's sometimes if a button is labeled in a weird way, my screen reader can't read it, so it'll just say button or it won't say anything at all. So I don't really use Snapchat. I don't post much on Snapchat. I just use it to talk to people, but I use my Instagram a lot more.
Chris wants you to know that Snapchat is really weird for people who can see as well.
Okay.
So you don't feel excluded. You're just right there with all the visually equipped people out there. Jen, can I ask you as well, what assistive technology have you appreciated in your years working with students with disabilities?
Yeah, so right now I have the Pearl scanner that I've been using for Rakeb's readings or anything that she gets in class that needs to be scanned, and that's been a huge help in our office. It actually takes pictures of the pages and then puts it up onto the computer screen for me to edit, and then I can save it as a Word document and send it back to her.
So you're not standing at a copier or a scanner for
yeah, exactly. I can just sit there and just click, 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 take pictures and edit it and just send it right off.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. I have a copy on my laptop too.
Yep.
So you're able to use that for documents and things?
I can, sometimes I'll be sent PDFs that I can't read because, PDFs are essentially just a picture of a document, you know? So I can use OCR software, which is for optical character recognition, to extract the text from the picture and convert it into a Word document that I can read.
Yeah, we use that too.
Excellent. Well, we would be remiss. Chris and I are both big fans of the Marvel series on Netflix. And do you watch Netflix? Like, how much TV do you watch? You watch a lot of YouTube.
I love Netflix.
Just like every other student at Providence College. So, what are your thoughts about Daredevil?
I actually only saw one episode, and I have a hard time with superhero movies. I don't like them, or TV shows. Sorry. Everyone's gonna attack me now after this, huh? I just can't vibe with superhero-related TV shows or movies. I just don't like it. Don't ask me why. I don't know. It has nothing to do with the visuals or anything. It's just I can't. I don't care.
Well, we can't let you go without asking you about your favorite blind jokes. So if you could regale us with a few of your favorites.
Ooh. Okay, no need to put on the pressure. Oh my god, my delivery is gonna be so awkward on these jokes. Okay. I burnt my fingers trying to read a waffle iron. That was in my article in the Cowl. I don't know, when people are just, sometimes I'll troll my professors. So I'm like, can everyone see this okay? And I'll be like, no. And if they're new, I have no shame. I did that on the first week, and there were so many professors I had who were like, oh no, what did I do? One time in high school, I took this theater class, and we had a substitute teacher, and I guess she didn't see me walk in with my cane, so she was handing out a worksheet that the actual teacher left for us. And she handed it to me. So I was like, oh, this is my chance to troll this person. So I turned to my friend and I'm like, hey, Alex, can I have a pencil? So I sit there and pretend to write. And then I just, when class is over, I just casually walk up to the professor or to the teacher and go, here you go. And I walk out with my cane. She probably felt terrible. So that's the whole point of the joke. I love making people uncomfortable. I love it so much.
But in all seriousness, Ricky, one of the reasons we asked you to be on the podcast was because of the piece you wrote in the Cowl. I'm curious what kind of reaction you got, and what do you want your peers at PC to know about you? Like, should they come up and approach you?
Oh my gosh. Okay, the feedback I got on that article was amazing. I honestly didn't think that many people would read it. I was very shocked and pleasantly surprised. Thank you so much for everyone who read it. I'm really glad that I was able to make the impact that I that I made, and that it definitely helped a lot with people being much more willing to approach me and talk to me and stuff like that, which is why I wrote it. Everyone keeps talking about how it's like this brave thing that I did. It wasn't brave to me. It was just a thing that I thought I had to do. What was the other part of the question?
Just how do you want people to interact with you, or what do you want them to do when they're around you?
Oh, how to interact with me? Interact with me like you're talking to a normal person. Yeah, it's that simple. There's no special requirements. I don't get easily offended. Honestly, I'm probably the most offensive person ever when it comes to my disability. So don't worry about it. I am an open book. I've been asked some weird questions. One time I was asked how I kiss my boyfriend if I can't see him. I didn't say this, but I wish I said, well, if you kiss with your eyes open, you're a serial killer. Go away.
Even you as a person without vision know that the eyes are supposed to be closed. That's fantastic.
Listen, I've watched plenty of YouTube. Oh, I'm not supposed to share that. Okay, never mind. So, and I have visually impaired friends who've also received weird questions, like if they watch pornography and stuff like that. So don't worry about it. I won't be offended. I've heard it all. I do all the stuff that you do. I watch Netflix. I do my homework for the most part.
Just like every other piece.
I don't really like sports though. Controversial, I know. I've made a point to try and get to at least one basketball game this semester, because someone once told me if I want to have a decent social life, I need to go to at least one sporting event. So I'm going to try to do that, but I can't make any promises.
But in terms of just like getting your attention, you want people to walk up and just say, "Hey, Rakeb."
Yeah, just do that. I'm terrible with voice recognition. Confession, I'm terrible. If I've known you for a while and I've spoken to you multiple times, then I don't have any problems. Like, I recognize Jen. I think I've recognized you at this point, Liz. Obviously, I recognize my mom and like my family members and my roommate and some people that I've talked to frequently. But if you're just a person that I randomly saw at orientation, I'm not going to remember who you are. So identify yourself, stranger, please.
Just like every other student.
I could tell you the first week of classes, and I walked Rakeb to all of her classes. All the students walking by, "Hey, Rakeb." She's like, "Hey." I'm like, "Who's that?" She's like, "I don't know."
Yeah, I still do that. I'm sorry. I probably broke so many hearts. But most of you who are saying hi to me, I honestly don't remember your name. Like, I remember you as a person, I just don't remember your name at all. It took me forever to recognize the girl who sits next to me in Civ. So.
But you know her now.
I know her now, yeah. Most of the time.
Rakeb and Jennifer, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you so much for joining us. Subscribe to the Providence College podcast in all the usual places, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, and our newest platform, Spotify. If you like what you hear, please review and share with others. Thanks for listening, and go Friars.